What's up guys, it's Josh from KeepItTechie, and today I want to do a quick video showing you guys how to set up a file server using Ubuntu 20.04. So, as I stated in the intro of the video, I want to show you guys how to set up a file share on your local network using Ubuntu 20.04. And the application that you need to actually accomplish this is called Samba. Now, Samba has been around for a very long time. It's an excellent application for sharing files on your local network. And you can access these files from all the different operating systems like Mac OS, Windows, as well as the Linux operating system. So you can set this up on a server within your house and then access it from your Linux laptop, so to speak. Or if you have a Mac system, you can connect to it from there, as well as Windows. And it's a super cool application. I use it at my house. I have it set up on my home network, so my family can actually share files. We can share photos, or we can share things with each other over their local network. So let's go down and get started. I have a virtual machine already set up. I'm using Ubuntu 20.04 as I stated, and we'll walk through this whole process of configuring and setting up your file share. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm connected to my Ubuntu 20.04 server over SSH. And just to show you a little bit about the specs on the system, let's go down and run htop so you guys can see what I got. I basically have 8 gigabytes of memory. I gave it 4 processing cores, and that's kind of overkill, but whatever. It's just a virtual machine and I have the processing cores to spare. But let's go down and quit this right fast and install Samba. Now, when you install Ubuntu server, they do have an option that you can select during the installation process that'll allow you to install Samba on your system. Now, if you didn't do that, then you will have to install it manually, like what I'm finna show you guys. So first thing you want to do is update the system, and that's, that simple command, sudo apt updates, and this will refresh the repositories as well as, yeah, and I misspelled that right fast, but let's go on and fix that. But sudo apt update, and then type in our password, and we can go on and refresh the repositories like I stated, and then check if we have any updates for the system, which I'm pretty sure we don't. And as you can see, we don't. It says all packages are up to date. So let's go on and install Samba. Let's type sudo apt install and then Samba. And what I'm gonna do is tab so you guys can see the other packages that are there. And I misspelled something again. I can't type tonight, but let's tab. And I just wanted to show you the other packages that are there. They do have some other packages, but the package we want to install is just Samba. So let's press enter, go through the install, press Y for enter, and then I'll go through the install, and I'll be back when this actually finishes. Okay, cool. So the installation is done, and pretty much everything is set up. Now let me go down and show you guys the actual version of Samba that I actually installed on here. So SMBD, and then let's type -- version, and this will give us the version of the Samba server, which is 4.11.6. so that's the current version. Well, I don't know if it's the current version, but it's the version that's in the Ubuntu repositories. Now the next thing you want to do is actually configure the server, because the service is actually already running, and we can verify that by typing sudo system ctl and then status. And actually, we didn't have to type sudo for that. We could have just typed systemctl status and then smbd and press tab, and that's the actual service. So as you can see, it's active and running on the system. And then right here, this will let you know that it's enabled, meaning that it'll start up every time the server boots up. It's added to the boot process. So Samba will be readily available if you have to restart your computer or something like that. You don't have to go in and actually start the service. So the daemon is actually running. Now let's go down and press Q to get out of that. But like I said, we have to go down and configure the Samba server. And the first thing you want to do before you actually configure any configuration files on the Linux server, you always want to make a backup of that configuration file. So let's go down and do that first before we get into configuring. And the command to do that is just simply sudo cp, that's for copy. And then what we want to do is copy under etc and then samba and then smb.config. that's the actual file that we want to copy. And let's put the new copy in, or the backup of the file, in the same location. So samba, and then we can type smb again, but what we want to do is add something to the end of it. And what I always do is add bck. That's typically what I add on my production servers. And that's just, I just use a standard file extension on the end of it that I use to back up my configuration files. That way, if I need to find them or find the original configuration file, let's say it got moved for some strange reason, then I can search for a .bck, because all my configuration files have .bck on the end of the backup, or the original file that was there when I installed the application. So let's go down and press enter, and this will create that copy of it, which is basically a backup like I stated. So let's go down and type ls -la, and I just want to show you guys the files that is in the Samba directory before we configure. So etc samba, you know, and that's the files. And as you can see, we have that backup file that we just created, and then the configuration file right here. So this is what we want to edit, because this is what Samba is going to be looking for when it actually, you know, starts the process. Now let's go in and edit that right fast. So let's type sudo nano, and you can use whatever text editor you want to use to accomplish this process. But you can use Vi, Vim, you know, whatever. But my text editor of choice is Nano, so that's what I'm gonna use. So Nano, and then we have to type in the full path because we're not in that directory. I should have cd'd to that directory, but oh well, we can do it this way. etc samba and then smb.config and press enter. That's what we want to edit. Now just to break down this configuration file. I know when looking at configuration files for the first time getting into Linux, it can be kind of confusing, but it's not that hard if you remove all the comments. Like if all these comments weren't there, you know what I'm saying, then it'll be a very short configuration file. Just think about it. All the ones with the # or hashtag sign, that's comments. That's a commented line. So if all that wasn't there, the only thing you'll see is the ones that don't have the comments. So and as you can see, it's not that many files there, or not that many things there to configure. Now you can, I'm not gonna mess with any of this stuff, but really the main thing, you want to make sure that this is set to work group, and that way so Windows computers can actually see it. And then now if we go down to the bottom, what you want to do is add your new share, because that's pretty much all you got to do is add the share, and I'll show you how to actually configure it. It's not that hard. And what I typically do, just to make it simple, I'll just copy one of the configurations there, like this printer setup, because one of the defaults, it sets up a printer's share on the server when you install Samba. So you can kind of copy that, you know what I'm saying, and we'll go down and do that. But what you want to do is go down to the bottom, and this is where you want to start putting your shares. So we're gonna just change up some of this stuff just to make it pretty simple. And let's say we want to, I don't know, create a share for all our music files. So let's just use that as an example. So let's type music as the name of it. So we can name it, you know, you can name it whatever you want to. You can put my music, whatever, you know what I'm saying. But I typically like to stick with one word, so music is fine. And then right here is the comments. Now you can change this as well. You could put whatever you want. You could put my music collection. Cool. And then right here, browsable. And what you want to set this at is yes. if you want it browsable, and which I want it browsable for this example. You don't have to make it browsable, you'll just have to know exactly what you're typing in to actually find it. And that works best for Windows computers, especially for people that don't understand file sharing and all that stuff. It just makes it super simple to have it set to browsable. That way, like my wife or when my kids is looking for the share or something, all they have to do is go to, you know, network, view networks, and then find the server name, open it up, and then it'll show the music folder that's shared on the network. Now the next thing you want to do is go down and set the path, which is very simple. We can set it in, let's create a default, or let's create a location under var, and that's fine. We could type Samba as the name of the folder, and then the shares underneath it, you could put all your shares under that directory, because under var Samba is not there, but I want to create a Samba folder, and then I want to put all my shares underneath it. And I recommend you do the same, you know, that way you can kind of find what you want. And let's just type music, and that's the directory that we're going to make after this. And take note of that, the location. If that directory is not there, you want to, you know, create that directory. And then right here, this is set for the printable or the printer. That's one of the printer settings. We could remove that off. And actually I should have just left it there, but I need to add something in there. And one thing I want to add is to make the share writable, and this will allow anyone that has access to it, which I'm gonna open it up to anybody. I'm just using this as an example. There are ways to add security to these things, but I'm gonna just leave it open and let anybody write to it if they wanted to. I'm just showing you a quick and dirty way of actually setting this up. But writable, just put equals yes, and make sure you put a space in between it, and then guest okay. I'm gonna go down and make that yes as well. That way anybody can get to it, you know, guest. They don't have to type in a username or password, you know, or none of that. And then right here where it says read only, let's go down and change that to no, and that way it'll allow people to write to the directory or whatever, or whoever to write to the directory, whoever accesses it. Now, and this will be like a public share. Let's say you sharing things with your roommate or whatever, and you want him to be able to add stuff to it as well. This is a quick and dirty way of actually setting that up. Now let's go down and create a mask. And what I typically do is put like 644, because you can set whatever permissions you want. Well, you have to set the permissions to open that directory, and then Samba will handle the permissions of the file. So by putting a mask in there, so we gonna put that mask of 644. I'm gonna just take that off of it right there. But basically root has full control, and then the 4 basically stands for read, write and execute, and then the other one is write and execute as well. So that's the permissions we want to have. So that's pretty much it for the configuration. That's how you actually configure your shares, and then you can go through and add another share if you want to add, let's say, video folder or something. You know what I'm saying? You add it the exact same way, create its own folder for it, and then, you know, put it in a configuration file. You get to go. Now let's go down and save this configuration file. I'm gonna hit Control X, Y for yes to save or write, and now we're done with that portion of it as far as configuring the Samba share. Now before we move on, we need to create that directory that I was talking about. So let's go down and create that. Now it's sudo make dir, so mkdir, and then I'm gonna use an option with this as well, and it's called p. It's the p option. So if we type var Samba, and then we want to create that music directory, and I want to go down and explain to you what that p option does. Basically what the p option does when you're making a directory is, if you want to create a folder and it doesn't have that parent name, it'll create that parent for you. So right now var doesn't have a Samba folder, and therefore you can't create the music folder. So in order to fix that, we want to create both of these folders, but we want the child to be written under the parent, and we need the parent to be created first. So what the -p will do is it'll basically tell make directory to make the top level folder and then make the child level folder. So the parent, child, good to go. So let's go down and press enter, and that'll create both of those directories for us. Now let's go down and change the permissions for that directory. So let's go sudo chmod, and I spelled that wrong, so chmod, and then I'm gonna just set it to 777, and all I want to do is set it for the music folder, so Samba and then music, and let's press enter, and that'll change the permissions on there. So if we go ls-la, and then let's look at that var Samba folder, and this will let you know right here that this folder has the permissions that we set on it, which is 777, which is read, write, execute for, you know, everything. So anything that's created on there will be read, write, execute. Now that we set our permission, well, now that we configured the server, we created our folder and set the permissions, now the last step is actually to restart the service, and this will allow our share to start working. You need to do this every time you make a change to the configuration, otherwise it won't reload that configuration. So I'm gonna restart it right now by typing sudo systemctl restart, and then smbd.service, and press enter, and it'll go down and restart it for us. So we have our share set up and it's running, you know, and on this system right now the firewall, I'm sure, is turned off, so we should be able to access it regardless. Now let me go down and switch over to my main desktop, that way you guys can actually see me connect to this Samba server share that we just created. So let me switch over to my desktop right now and open up a file explorer right fast. Let's bring it over there right fast so you guys can actually see. Now this is my file explorer, and let's go down and pull up this share right fast. And majority of the distributions out, they have everything set up so you could connect to shares. It's like a package that you need installed in order to connect to different shares depending on what desktop environment it is, but you should be able to just type it in by typing SMB, because that's the actual way of connecting to a Samba share. So let's type SMB : / and then you type in the IP address of the server, or if you have the name of the server in your host file, then you should be able to type the name of the server. And I know the IP address, so it's 192.168.10.29, and then / as well. Press enter. As you can see, it already kind of pulled it up. You can see that print share that we had on there, and then this is the one we actually created, that music share. So let's double click on it, and then right here it's going to pop up with a screen asking you, you know, if you want to connect to it anonymously, which that's what we want to do, because I set it up so you don't have to log into the share. So let's just press connect, and that's pretty much it right there. You can create a folder. Let's go down and create a test folder just to make sure the permissions are set up right, and they are. And that's pretty much all I wanted to show you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. Just go down and set you up your own personal share if you want to at the house. You can start off by creating one in virtual machine and then sharing it on your network just to see if you can access it and everything. One of the things you may want to do is look into ways to protect it. There are a lot of different ways out there. Just read the documentation. It's not that hard. You can basically use the Samba user account. It should have been created when we installed Samba on the system, and if not, you can add your current user account to the Samba group, which I know for sure that's created when you install Samba. That way you can use your regular user account to log into it. Should be good to go. As long as it's an account on the actual server, you should be able to log into it using that. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to keep coming with this Linux content and that I think will help people, you know, understand Linux and not be as fearful to actually try Linux, because it's a very simple operating system to actually use and take over from the current operating system that you have. And also, it's a lot of cool things you could do with a server on your home network. So, hope you guys have a good night and keep it techie.